In 2025, the world is facing an unprecedented climate emergency. From Asia to Europe, from North America to Africa, temperatures are reaching historic highs. Tonight, the world is not just warming, it is boiling. From the scorched vineyards of France to the bone-dry riverbeds of California, an unprecedented global heat wave is holding humanity in its suffocating grip. This is not a distant forecast. This is not a problem for our grandchildren. This is the reality of August 2025. Thermometers across continents are shattering records, pushing past thresholds once considered unimaginable. The air itself feels heavy, a constant, oppressive reminder of a climate system pushed far beyond its breaking point. Europe, a continent of ancient cities and temperate climates, is now a front line in this global heat war. In Spain, the searing heat has turned the once vibrant Andalusian plains into a landscape of cracked earth and dust. Temperatures in Seville and Cordoba have relentlessly exceeded 45 degrees Celsius for 12 consecutive days, a brutal record.
We pray for the night, but the night brings no relief. The asphalt melts on the streets, the tourists are gone. We are living inside an oven.
Historic fountains have been shut off to conserve water, and the afternoon siesta is no longer a cultural tradition, but a mandatory survival tactic. Italy is suffering a similar fate. The heat, known ominously as Charante, or Charon, the ferryman of the underworld in Greek mythology, is scorching the nation from the Alps to Sicily. In the fertile Po Valley, the heart of Italy's agriculture, the river is at a historic low, threatening the production of everything from Parmesan cheese to risotto rice. France is also reeling. The country's famed wine industry is in peril, with grapes in the Bordeaux region literally cooking on the vine, their sugar content skewed by the extreme temperatures.
This is not weather, this is a plague. The soul of our wine, our terroir, is being burned away. We cannot adapt to this, not this fast.
Across the Atlantic, the United States is battling its own multi-front war against the heat. The American West is a tinderbox. In California, massive wildfires, larger and more ferocious than ever before, are raging through communities, forcing tens of thousands to flee with little more than the clothes on their backs. Firefighters, exhausted and outnumbered, describe the blazes as behaving in ways they've never seen. In Texas and Arizona, the story is one of pure, unadulterated heat. Phoenix has just marked its 40th consecutive day with temperatures over 110 degrees Fahrenheit, shattering all previous records.
You drink water, you take breaks in the shade, but the heat finds you. It feels like it's cooking you from the inside out. There is no escape.
The strain on the nation's power grid is immense. California and Texas have both implemented rolling blackouts to prevent a total grid collapse, leaving millions without air conditioning during the hottest parts of the day. People are flocking to public cooling centers, but the demand far outstrips the supply. The agricultural heartland is suffering. The Colorado River, a lifeline for 40 million people, has dwindled to a trickle in some areas. The result is fallow fields and skyrocketing food prices across the country. This is the climate crisis coming home, not in charts and graphs, but in empty refrigerators and abandoned farms. In Asia, home to more than half the world's population, the heat wave is not just an emergency, it is a humanitarian catastrophe. In India and Pakistan, a brutal wet bulb heat wave has made it nearly impossible for the human body to cool itself through sweating. Temperatures soaring past 48 degrees Celsius combined with extreme humidity have created lethal outdoor conditions. The sprawling megacities of Delhi and Karachi have become death traps for the most vulnerable. The homeless, day laborers, and those living in slums without access to electricity or clean water. The silence from these communities is deafening, as many deaths go unrecorded, lost in the overwhelming scale of the crisis. China is battling a dual crisis of heat and drought. A persistent heat dome has settled over the southern part of the country, crippling the manufacturing and shipping industries that power the global economy. The Yangtze River, a vital artery for commerce and agriculture, is at its lowest level in recorded history, causing massive power shortages from hydroelectric dams. The Middle East, a region already defined by its arid climate, is now facing temperatures that test the limits of human habitability. In parts of Iraq and Kuwait, the mercury has tipped past 52 degrees Celsius, but for millions of refugees and displaced persons living in camps across the region, there is no escape. The flimsy tents offer little protection from the kiln-like conditions, and water is more precious than gold. On social media, a post from a young man in Lahore, Pakistan, went viral. "My grandfather remembers the monsoons. He says they used to wash the world clean every year. I have lived 20 years and all I know is this heat. We are the boiled generation. For hundreds of millions across Asia, the climate crisis is not an abstract concept. It is the air they breathe, the sweat on their brow, and the relentless, suffocating heat that defines their existence. On the African continent, the heat wave manifests primarily as a crisis of water. Years of inadequate rainfall, now compounded by record-breaking temperatures, have plunged vast regions, particularly in the Horn of Africa and the Sahel, into a catastrophic drought. Rivers have vanished, leaving behind winding canyons of sand. Lake Chad, once a massive body of water supporting tens of millions, has shrunk to a fraction of its former size. The impact on agriculture has been devastating. Smallholder farmers, who make up the majority of the continent's food producers, watch as their crops fail season after season. The soil, baked hard by the sun, refuses to yield.
We used to know the rains. They were our clock, our calendar. Now the sky is silent. It has abandoned us. My goats are all gone. How do I feed my family? We eat dust.
This scarcity is igniting social and political tensions. Water has become a source of conflict. In many regions, the daily quest for water falls to women and children, who must walk for miles under a brutal sun to reach the nearest well, often to find it has run dry. This daily struggle is a drain on their health, their safety, and their ability to get an education or earn an income. Governments and aid organizations are struggling to respond. Emergency water trucking and food aid provide temporary relief, but cannot solve the underlying problem. The scale of the need is simply overwhelming the available resources. This is the cruel injustice of climate change, where the continent that has contributed the least to greenhouse gas emissions is suffering the most severe consequences. For millions in Africa, the global climate debate is not about politics or economics. It is a matter of life and death, a daily struggle for the most basic element of survival, a single drop of clean water. The science is unequivocal. The United Nations and the WMO have stated in a joint report this week that the 2025 heat wave is a direct consequence of unchecked greenhouse gas emissions. We are living through the results of decades of burning fossil fuels, rampant deforestation, and poorly planned urbanization that creates heat-trapping concrete jungles.
Let me be perfectly clear, this is not the new normal. Normal implies stability. This is the beginning of a continued accelerating descent into climate chaos. The models we built years ago, the ones that were dismissed as alarmist, are now proving to have been too conservative. We have passed multiple tipping points. The time for incremental change is over. We are in a state of emergency.
The calls for action are growing louder, coming from every corner of a world in pain. Citizens are taking to the streets, not just in the usual protest capitals of Europe, but in cities across the developing world, demanding that their governments and global corporations be held accountable. This global chorus of anger and fear is a powerful political force, a grassroots movement born of shared suffering. This moment, August 16, 2025, is a crossroads for our species. The path we are on leads to a future of unbearable heat, widespread famine, and societal collapse. But another path is still just barely within reach. It requires an immediate global mobilization on the scale of a world war, a rapid transition to renewable energy, a massive effort to reforest our planet, and a fundamental redesign of our cities and economies. It requires courage, sacrifice, and a recognition that we are all in this together. We are the first generation to feel the full force of the climate crisis, and we are the last generation with the power to do something about it. The clock is ticking, and the world is watching. The heat is on. The world is heating up, and time is running out.